Okay, I've changed out the filament. It's probably a little hard to tell, but I changed it from green to white. And what we're going to do now is actually load a G-code file and then try and start a 3D print. Before I do that, since the printer gets a little loud and it might be harder to record, I'll walk through the series of events here. We're actually going to, start the print job, but then I'm going to use this enable trigger command, which is essentially saying, turn off the 3D printer when the print job completes, is sort of the syntax here. And what we're doing is enabling a trigger with this ID. And a trigger is something I haven't really gone into before, but the basic idea is we have this print trigger, or we have this trigger right here. And when the trigger is enabled and this event happens, which is the OctoPrint print done event, the print job totally completes, we are going to trigger the job cleanup printer, or OctoPrint cleanup. And so the idea here is that by default this job, or this trigger, is not enabled. We don't want this to happen because I might be doing a lot of different prints during the day and I just want to keep the printer running. But maybe I'm doing a really long print, or maybe I'm going to be leaving the house or something in the middle of a print, and I want the printer to turn itself off when it's done. I can enable this trigger by telling Stark to turn the printer off when the job completes. That command will enable this trigger, and then when the job is completed, we'll go back down here, and it'll run this cleanup command. And the cleanup command does a whole bunch of stuff, but basically the idea is that we move both, or all three of the axes to their home position. We turn the extruders off and the print bed. We disconnect OctoPrint from the printer. Then we turn off the switch that actually powers the printer. And then we set this trigger to disabled. And we do this every time, regardless of whether it was enabled or not, just because we want to make sure that the next time we turn the printer on, we're not accidentally leaving that trigger enabled. And so it'll run through this series of events, which is essentially the reverse of turning it on, so that you're not wasting power and electricity and having it running when it really doesn't need to be. The print job has been completed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and load this print job, and in this case I'm going to make this minion figure that I found on Thingiverse. Kids like this kind of stuff. I've printed a number of these before, and it's kind of a fun little print to have done. Go ahead and wait for the G code here to load just to make sure it's what I wanted. While we're waiting for that, once I tell the printer to start the job, the other thing I'm going to show is this how is the printer doing command, which we've used before, but the printer wasn't actually doing anything. I'm going to do it in the bash interface that we've been using, but I'm also going to do it via text message. And just so that it's visible, I use this web interface for texting via my computer called Yappy. If you haven't checked it out, it's kind of a cool little program, so you can send text messages right from your browser. But I will go ahead and issue the command here so that you can see that when pictures are enabled on an interface, you'll actually get a picture with that command. So let's go in here, and here's the G code. You can see what it's going to be doing. There's our little guy. So this job is loaded. I'm going to go ahead and, obviously I could hit the print button here, but that's not really the fun part of doing this.
Starting print job minion large.
So there, now you can see the printer getting itself ready to start the print job. And 1 second here, I see a problem. Wanted to make sure I got rid of that little piece of filament that was in the way of the extruder there. While we're waiting for that to go, I'm going to go ahead and enable that trigger that I showed you before.
Sorry, no jobs matching that. What do you want?
So now if we go up here, you'll see that that job is now enabled. I'm going to go ahead and wait just a second here for the printer to go through its procedure. It gets a little loud. That was a bed leveling procedure that the printer does every time before it starts. So now it's waiting for the temperature to get up to where it needs to start the print. But since the print is already started in terms of the job is running, I can go ahead and I'll just tab up here.
The printer is currently working on Minion Large. It has been running for 2.18 minutes and 0% done.
So, you know, that's great information to have, but let's say I'm out and about and I actually want to see what's going on my phone. I could ask the same question.
The printer is currently working on Minion Large. It has been running for 2.18 minutes and 0% done.
You'll notice the voice came back before the text message. The API to send the text messages takes a little bit longer, but if you're actually waiting on your phone, it wouldn't seem like such a big deal. I think the amount of time it takes has something to do with downloading the image. But you'll see when it does come through here, the image has been downloaded and sent to my phone, and now I get a snapshot of whatever the printer was doing in that moment. And so I could, you know, check on this myself every hour or half hour, whatever I wanted to do, and see what's going on via texting rather than having to set up outside access to my webcam. You can also integrate this with anything else that would show a picture, such as a website or an IM interface. Just going back here, you can see the print job has started, and we're off and running.